You are running software that is 40,000 years old inside a hardware environment it was never designed to handle. Imagine you are trying to run a high-fidelity video game on a computer built in 1980. The processor overheats. The system crashes. The fan spins out of control. That is your financial life. You think you want to be rich. Logically, you know the math. Spend less than you earn. Invest the difference. Wait 20 years? It is simple arithmetic. But if it is so simple, why do 70% of lottery winners go broke within 5 years? Why do high-income earners, doctors, lawyers, engineers, often have zero net worth? Because your brain does not want you to be rich. In fact, your brain views saving money as a direct threat to your immediate survival. To understand why you are broke, we have to look at the glitches in your operating system. Let us go back to the source code. For 99% of human history, saving was physically impossible. If you killed a mammoth, you could not put the meat in a 401k. You had to eat it now or share it now. Resources rotted. Inflation wasn't a number on a chart. It was bacteria, mold, and scavengers. If you didn't consume a resource immediately, it was lost forever. In that environment, hoarding was dangerous. If you carried too much food, you were slow. If you were slow, you were eaten. Evolution bred a specific algorithm into you. Consumption equals survival. Abstinence equals death. Now, fast forward to today. You walk into a supermarket. Your conscious mind sees a grocery store. Your primitive brain sees a forest full of endless calorie-dense fruit that never rots. When you see a buy one, get one free sale, your logical brain might calculate the savings. But your lizard brain is screaming, a surplus! Gather it before the other tribe members get here. When you try to save money, you are fighting millions of years of evolutionary pressure that is screaming at you to consume the resource before it vanishes. Let us look at the hardware. You have two pilots fighting for the controls of your mind. Pilot 1 is the limbic system. It is fast, emotional, and runs on dopamine. Pilot 2 is the prefrontal cortex. It is slow, logical, and burns a lot of energy. When you buy something, a watch, a coffee, a crypto coin, you get an instant hit. The anticipation of the purchase releases dopamine. Think about the last time you ordered something online. The moment you clicked buy, you felt good. But did you feel as good when the package actually arrived 3 days later? Probably not. The brain rewards the acquisition of the resource, not the ownership. Buying signals to your primitive brain. I have secured resources. I have gathered. I am safe. It is a reward loop. But here is the kicker. MRI studies show that when people save money, when they part with cash for a future benefit, the pain centers of the brain light up. Specifically, the insula. This is the same part of the brain that lights up when you smell rotten food or feel a pinprick. To your primitive brain, saving feels exactly like losing. You are voluntarily depriving yourself of resources. It triggers cortisol, the stress hormone. Consider this hypothetical. You find a $100 bill on the street. You feel a surge of happiness. Now imagine you lose a $100 bill from your wallet. The psychological pain of losing that $100 is twice as intense as the pleasure of finding it. This is called loss aversion. When you invest, you are voluntarily losing access to your money today. Your brain screams, error, resources depleted. This is the hardware problem. Spending feels like winning. Saving feels like dying. You are trying to build wealth using an operating system designed to avoid starvation. And the modern world, it knows this. Every algorithm, every ad, every notification is designed to hack that dopamine loop. They use bright colors, countdown timers, and scarcity tactics. Only 3 left in stock. Sale ends in 1 hour. These urgency triggers bypass your logic and speak directly to your scarcity anxiety. They are not selling you products. They are selling you dopamine hits to soothe your cortisol spikes. This leads us to the next flaw in the code, hyperbolic discounting. I will give you a choice. You can have $100 right now, or you can have $200 in exactly 1 year. Most people take the $100 now. Why? Because to your brain, the future is a low-resolution simulation. It might not happen. You might be dead. The tribe might leave you. fMRI scans show something terrifying about how we view time. When you think about your current self, your medial prefrontal cortex lights up. But when you think about your future self, you in 10 years, that part of the brain goes dark. In fact, the brain activity looks almost identical to when you think about a stranger, like Matt Damon or a random person on the street. Your brain processes your future self as a stranger. Saving for retirement is not giving money to me, it is giving money to a stranger I do not know. Why would you sacrifice your latte today for a stranger you haven't met yet? This is why YOLO is not just a slogan, it is a biological default. We are programmed to discount the future because historically the future was never guaranteed. But you do not live in the savannah anymore, you live in a world of compound interest. And in this world, hyperbolic discounting is a fatal error. It gets worse. What happens when you are actually broke? When the bills are piling up? Let's talk about the bandwidth tax. There was a famous study done on sugarcane farmers in India. These farmers are poor for most of the year but rich immediately after the harvest. Researchers gave them IQ tests before the harvest, when they were broke, and after the harvest, when they had money. The results were shocking. The same farmer with the same brain scored 13 points lower on the IQ test when they were poor. That is a massive drop. It is the difference between average and borderline deficient. It is the cognitive equivalent of missing a full night of sleep. Why does this happen? Scarcity captures bandwidth. When you are worried about how to pay rent, your brain is running a background process that eats up all your RAM. You literally cannot think clearly. It creates tunnel vision. Imagine you are trying to solve a complex math problem, but a fire alarm is ringing in the room. That is what poverty feels like to the brain. You focus only on the immediate threat, the noise, and ignore the long-term solution. When you are stressing about rent, you physically cannot think about a 5-year investment plan. Your brain reallocates all processing power to the immediate threat. This is the poverty trap. It is not just a lack of money, it is a lack of cognitive bandwidth caused by the lack of money. You make bad decisions like taking a payday loan with 400% interest, not because you were stupid, but because your processor is overheating. So, is it hopeless? Are we doomed by our biology? No, but we have to stop using willpower. Willpower is a muscle. It gets tired. If you spend all day resisting the urge to buy a donut, by the time you get home, you have no willpower left to resist buying that expensive gadget on Amazon. We need to patch the code. We need to hack the glitch. Here is the 3-step patch. Step 1. Remove the choice. If you have to decide to save every month, you will fail. The cortisol will stop you. You must automate it. This is called a commitment device. In the Odyssey, Odysseus knew the siren's song would make him crash his ship. He didn't say, "I will just use my willpower to ignore them." No. He tied himself to the mast. You need to tie yourself to the mast. Set up automatic transfers the day your paycheck hits. Make the money disappear into an investment account before your limbic system even sees it. If you don't see it, you don't feel the pain of losing it. Step 2. Hijack the dopamine. Your brain loves progress. It loves leveling up. The problem with wealth building is that it is boring. Watching a number grow by 7% a year is not exciting. So you have to gamify it. Turn your net worth into a high score. Track it visually. Create a chart on your wall. Every time you pay off a debt, color it in. Make the act of saving trigger the resource gathering reward, not the deprivation pain. You are not losing money. You are buying freedom points. You are buying XP. Step 3. Befriend the stranger. You need to bridge the gap between you now and you later. Visualization is key here. Researchers found that when people looked at digitally aged photos of themselves, they were more likely to allocate money to retirement. Visualize your future self, literally. Use aging filters. Write them a letter. Ask yourself, will old me be happy with this purchase? Bridge the empathy gap so that saving becomes a gift to a friend, not a sacrifice for a stranger. You cannot delete your biology. You will always have the urge to spend. You will always fear the loss of resources, but you can rewrite the software that manages those impulses. Stop fighting your brain and start programming it. Welcome to the new operating system.